Hey guys, good to see you. Been gone for a couple days, so just getting back here to the scene, and always glad to get back to you guys and to be sharing stuff. So happy to be here. Now we're going to be looking at a software called Fish TTS. Okay, so of course the TTS standing for text to speech. All right, so now if you know, we've got our F5 TTS, which is our great out of the box voice cloning software, which works really good. This is going to be a little bit different. Okay, the F5 is still going to end up being our superior software, but this is really going to be a powerful tool for you guys that want to learn how to fine tune your models. Okay, so it's going to be like you want to teach it how to speak Norwegian, or you want to teach it how to speak German or something like that. So this is going to be powerful tool for doing that kind of stuff, but it's not going to be an out of the box experience like F5. Okay, and along with this, I'm not going to show you how to use the software. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lean into my strengths, which is I'm going to show you how to get this installed and get it going on your software so that you guys can go out and be doing all this stuff, because you're so smart and you can figure this stuff out, and much better than I'm sure that I could show you how to do it. So looking forward to seeing what you're going to do with this. That being said, this is not exactly an easy install. This isn't a beginner install. It's not that there's a ton of stuff that you have to do, but there's a lot of little things in here that you're going to need to be comfortable with changing some files up. You're going to need to be comfortable with having some errors, that sort of thing. But I'm going to walk you through all of that so that you can get this going on your Windows machine, and then you guys can get to the good stuff. Okay, so excited to jump into this. Going kind of like this is like our roots here, getting in there and typing commands. I'm going to be explaining what we're doing, and you're going to love it. Okay, so that being said, I do appreciate everything that you're doing here, liking and sharing the channel. We're growing. It's an exciting time, and the more people that get involved, the better it is, because that means we got more people that are creating stuff that we're getting to play with. That means that the open source community is staying a market that bigger businesses want to continue to market into, and it just makes it great for us. So thank you so much for sharing the video, liking the channel. In fact, putting on your New Year's resolution that I'm going to tell 10 more people a week about get going fast. I mean, what a great resolution to make. So, all right, I do appreciate you, and that being said, let's move on with the moving on. Get to Fish TTS, All right, so first thing we're going to do is we need to go and find the repository, of course. So let's just click on over to our browser, and what we're going to do is we're just going to do a search for Fish TTS, and you can always type GitHub in here if you want. And you're going to find this one here, this Fish Audio, Fish Speech, SOTA open source. So let's just click that, and that's going to bring us into our repository. So we're going to end up downloading this repository, but not yet. As always, when you get into this stuff, you don't want to just grab it and put it down straight away. A lot of times we come in here and we're thinking, oh, I just need to grab everything, and so we grab it, okay? But the key is grab it if you need it. Okay, so you can read through here and see all the stuff that it does. Okay, again, I'm going to go ahead and just tell you straight off the bat that the strength of this is in training. Okay, which I've already said, but the strength of it is in training. Now here's a demo you can play around with over here. You do have to sign in to get playing with it. Let's see if we can do this really quick here.
Hey there. After months of intensive development, Fish Speech 1.5 has just launched with major improvements to expressiveness, stability, and cross-language capabilities.
All right, so there you go. So I'm going to tell you, the software that we're loading is not going to be that good out of the box, but you get an idea of how it works. Okay, and it does work. There's some really cool stuff with this, like really strange things. Like even if it does struggle a bit with something that's reading, it doesn't just skip it. It kind of hums and haws and like a person would, like how I do when I can't think of my words. I'm sitting there, I go and then I get the word. It does that, and that's kind of interesting. So this is definitely a cool model. But anyway, so going back there, that's your little demo you can play with. They do not give you the ability to download your speech on the demo. So the demo is not enough to be able to do anything. So we're going to go through here, and what we're going to end up going down here is to our documents English. Okay, of course, if you speak a different language, then go with your different languages, your Portuguese and whichever Chinese languages those are. We're going to click on English, and we're going to come into our installations. Now we're going to have a few different installations options here. One is just your basic Windows setup using WSL. Okay, so I can walk you through that in another video. This is using your Windows subsystem for Linux. It's really not that difficult to get going. Of course, the hardest thing with Windows subsystem for Linux is getting the subsystem itself working, okay? Which I do have installation packages for that if you want to get that going, but that is a project in its own, okay? And so we're going to go down here where it says non-professional Windows users, and we're going to go ahead and follow the instructions on here. Okay, now before we do go that, I do want to point out that over on the Patreon site I have gone ahead and already made a quick installer. So if you just want to get going with this, look around at it. This you can just click this, download it, and it's going to do everything for you to get it installed. Okay, so you won't have to go through all this other process that we're about to go through. Okay, and I have made this free for all Prairie Dog. It's like a $5 thing. So this is just our basic members. You're able to go ahead and get that. So easy peasy, extra squeezy, and we're going to shoot on back over to here. Okay, so let's go ahead and look through the instructions. So basically extract the project package. Now that sounds confusing. That's not well written. Essentially all it means is we're going to git clone the repository. Okay, easy. Now it has given us a bat file that all we got to do is click it, and it's going to set up our Conda environment for us. So it is going to be incumbent on us that we make sure that our Conda environment is installed correctly, okay? Because if it's not, this will fail, or even worse, it'll go ahead and install it into your base system, and then we get into system pollution, and it's like, and that causes problems down the road. Now, it does have some different installers here that that can help with downloading certain things faster. We're not going to bother with them. We're not going to download this LLVM installer. We are going to go ahead and download this Microsoft Visual C++ redistributable, because essentially what it's going to be doing is we're going to be getting files that need to be built. Okay, so this is IKEA. Okay, we're getting the parts. We've got to build it. We're going to need a C++ compiler here, and this is the one that we're going to use. We're going to get down here, and it says download your Visual Studio download. If you have already set up your system correctly, then you already have this installed. Okay, so this is also part of our base installer. If you are over on the Patreon site up here, you can go to this thing here, and you'll see there's a full system setup script, particularly for NVIDIA users. And when you follow that, what it does is it will set up the Visual Studio that you need. Okay, so, and then it just says download install CUDA 12. Again, that should already be installed. If you're doing anything at all with your NVIDIA card, you should have that installed, or it ain't gonna work. We're gonna be using 11.8 as usual, so we're gonna make some small changes to that, and then it's gonna have us double click the start.bat to open the training inference. Okay, so this is sort of implies that this is all you need to do, and it's not. So what they're not mentioning here is we're going to need to download some models there that it doesn't mention in the instructions. So the instructions are not really well written, okay? But I've got you covered on this, all right? And then we're going to need to change some stuff. It says modify the API flags.txt file. I'll explain that to you. We're going to have to modify that, okay, so that it works for what we want it to do. Now again, over on the Get Going Fast page over here, that's all been pre-modified for you, so you won't have to worry about that. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into starting the install of this. All right, so I'm going to jump on over to my command prompt here. I'm going to find where we want to be installing this, and what I'm going to do here, after moving some windows around, is I'm going to type CD, which means change directory, and I'm going to go into the folder that I'm going to put this in. You guys can make your own folder if you want to. You know, you type mkdir, that stands for make directory. You could just call it make directory fish, TTS, and it'll make it, okay? Mine's under staging, so I'm going to type CD staging. Now, I'm going to type dir/AD, if that's /. It's going to show me all the directories. You're going to see I've already got one called fish. I've already got one fish WSL, but I'm going to go into my fish directory. I'm going to type CD fish. That's going to put me in the directory. Okay, I guess I better pull this back a little bit. I was making this bigger so you could see it, but it makes it okay. Okay, so I'm going to hit CLS to clear my screen. And now, this is the directory I'm in. This is also where I have my installer. All I would have to do with my installer is extract it and then just click on it. What we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and in this directory, we're going to go ahead and git clone the repositories. It's going to create another folder in here. So let me show you how to do that. Let's go back to our browser. Now we're over here on our requirements page. We need to hit the back button so that we go back to the GitHub repository. Then up here at the top, you're going to see here it says, you can click on this code button, and then you can click over here on HTTPS, and it's going to have the directory URL. So we'll just click on here, copy the URL to clipboard. You could also go up to the top here and grab it from up here. You'd have to just grab everything to the left of the question mark. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to pop back over to our command prompt, okay, and I'm going to just type git clone. Okay, so git is the name of our application that pulls down repositories. Okay, we're using GitHub, so we're using their app, which is called Git. All right, and what do we want Git to do? We want it to clone something, which is why we type clone, and then it needs to know what to clone. So then we paste in. I hit Control V, and we paste in the file we're going to clone. So now notice it's called fish speech. We can ignore the .git. It's going to create another folder called fish speech. When you're git cloning something, it always creates a folder with that last bit there. So we're going to hit enter. Now notice it's cloning, comes down, and now it's done. If I type dir, you're going to see it created a folder called fish speech. Okay. Make this bigger for you again. I'm just going to have to go like this. All right, so it's made a folder called fish speech. Okay, so let's go back over to our browser. Now we need to get back to our directions. So we can go back down here, and what we can do is just go click on the documents, English again. Okay, so we're here with our introductions. Let's get this out of here. So let's go down. We're not going to do the WSL install, okay? You can follow that. Maybe I'll do another video on it, but we're just going to get this one working. So extract the project package. Now click install_env.bat to install the environment. So we're going to go ahead and run that, but let's do a couple of checks here really quick before we do that. So let's go over to here, and one thing is, well, let's make sure that our Conda is installed. So just type the word Conda, okay? And it should come up like this. If it does not come up like this, you need to install Mini Conda. Go look at my videos on how to do that. If you get an error that says that Conda is not recognized, don't go ahead with the rest of this installation, because it won't work and it could pollute your system. And by pollution, what I mean is what Conda does is it's a virtual environment. It's like using your table, and you're going to paint on your table, but you don't want to get paint on the table itself in case you slop, right? So you put a sheet over the table. That way, while you're painting, if you slop, it falls on the paper, not on the table itself. That's what Conda does for us. It creates like a paper over our system. If it's not there and we install stuff, it's like we're just painting directly onto the table. And if something goes bad, then it can mess up our system, makes things not work other places, okay? So virtual environments are very important. If you're not getting this here, okay, go look at my video on how to install Conda, how to install Mini Conda, get it installed, and then come back. Okay, there you go. So now we're going to make sure that's there. Now let's go ahead and type dir. Let's clear the screen. You know, clear screen, clear mind. Now let's type dir, Okay, so we can see there's that fish speech folder. So I'm going to type cd fish dash speech. I'm going to type it just like it's there. That means change directory. Now you'll notice we're in the directory. Okay, cool. I'm going to type dir. Okay, so it says here install _env.bat. Okay, so that's what we need to be running. That's going to create our virtual environment. So what you can do one of two different things here. Okay, let me get this over here. One thing you can do is, I probably should have had this ready for you, my apologies, is you can just go over to your File Explorer, okay, and you can go into your folder that we just created, the fish.speech, and you can just double click it, okay? Easy, that's an easy way to do it. One thing about doing it this way is it's going to open up a command prompt, and if there's an error, it'll shut down and you can't see what it is. So what I like to do is do it in the command prompt itself. Okay, and then just type it in there. So we'll type install _env.bat. Okay, now notice it starts to run, and it's going to download stuff. It's got to download some models. It's setting everything up for us. So this is interesting how it works with its mini Conda version. In the usually what we do is you install it onto your system, and it will it's just there for like when we type Conda and stuff. So we still need it installed on our system, but this is actually going to be using its own version that it downloads it and puts it in a folder. So that's going to, again, this is why this isn't going to be the most simplistic install in the world, because there's some little stuff that we're going to need to do. But in other words, it just packages its own virtual environment with it, which means that we're going to need to access that later through a little different way. But I'm going to go ahead and pause this because right now it's going to install Torch for us, and Torch is a big package. It's a package that takes quite a while typically to install, and we're going to install it twice because right now what it's doing is, if you notice up here where it says like it's installing Torch, but it's installing the wrong version. We're going to want 11.8. If you're running a CUDA toolkit of 12.1, then you're going to actually be fine. This will work fine for you. But again, personally, when we're working on this stuff, I recommend that we use 11.8 because all of our stuff works with 11.8. I save my 12.1 stuff for my Windows subsystem for Linux, and at any rate, this is going to work fine working with an 11.8 any rate. So, but if that's confusing, my apologies. Just saying, if you already know that you have 12.1 installed, you're fine. For those of you who've been following with me, we're going to do a few extra steps just to make sure that we're using the right CUDA toolkit. Well, there we go. I talked long enough. We got through the Torch install. Maybe I don't need to pause. So let's see what she's going to do. I guess we could go check our browser and see what our next instructions are going to be. So we're going to need to download this Visual C++ redistributable. So I'm going to show you how to do that here in just a minute. I'm giving a peek over here to see we're still installing. Okay, while this is doing this, I'm going to show you a little trick here. So this MSVC, let's go ahead and highlight that and copy this, okay? And then let's go over to ChatGPT. So we're going to open up our ChatGPT here, and we're just going to ask it, can I winget install this, and then paste in the URL of that distributable. So you went over here and we just got to right click on it, and you'll just click copy link address. Now winget, of course, is a Windows application that allows us to install Windows applications without actually having to go to this thing, download it, and click on it and all that stuff. It's a nice way of automating installations. So we're going to type that in there, and then ChatGPT will give you back a command that says, yes, you can install the Visual C++ redistributable using winget. Here's the command, okay? So you just go ahead, and we're going to copy this as winget install, and it'll have everything that we need there. So if for some reason you can't get ChatGPT to give you the correct answer. You can also find this over on my blog. You just go to cognibuild.ai and you can just click on the blog and you'll find it up here. Downloading and installing the Microsoft Visual C++. And if you click that, you'll have the same thing there. Just copy and paste that in there. Okay, so let's get back to our command prompt now and see what's going on over there. And you see that our environment is set up. So let's go ahead and press any key to continue. Now, this is the nice thing. If we had clicked this in File Explorer, after we press that key to continue, it would go down. We wouldn't be able to see anything. But since we ran it in Terminal, it just exits back to where we were. Now, this is where we need to install our, this is where we need to install our thing that we just got there. So it's funny, I literally just had it and then forgot it. So hold on, let me go grab the URL. All right, so then what we're going to do here is we're going to paste that in there. Just as simple as that. So WinGet is the name of the app that we're calling. So we're saying WinGet, we want you to do something. What we want you to do, we want you to install. And then we're giving it this ID saying this is what it's called. So it's just like looking through a catalog and saying we need this thing. Okay, it'd be like going to the library and saying we need this book that has this number, this whatever. This is what we need. Okay, and so it's going to go out there and say, oh, I know what that is. Okay, yeah, I'll install it for you. So you press enter. Now mine's already installed. Okay, but yours will go through here. It'll go searching for it. Take a little bit of time to run. Okay. And then what will happen is after it's done installing is it's going to ask you to reboot your machine. Okay, so this will run through there, and you'll see some blue lines and all this stuff as it's installing. The other way that you can do this, if it's just easier for you as well, is you can just obviously just go and type Microsoft VC redistributable, type it in your Google thing, and then you can just go here and download it this way. Okay, and so you can just click it around. The problem with this, there's so much stuff up here that it gets confusing, but you obviously can download it that way. So you then do have to reboot your machine, okay, and everything will be ready to go. So now heading back to our instructions, what we want to do is we want to look and see what it next says to do. So we've installed this. We should already have your Visual Studio down. Stuff. If you don't have this downloaded, you need to get it downloaded. You need to follow either my video on shows you how to get your system set up, or just go get the system setup installer and just click through everything. It has everything you need. It's very important that you get your system set up. You can't do anything with AI if your system's not set up. So many people, they're like frustrated. They spend hours and days and they don't understand what's going on. It's like because your system's not set up properly. Okay, once you get it set up, everything works so smooth. But well, smoother. But if you don't, you're just going to sit there and bang your head against the wall. So go get the installer, watch my video, make sure you've got all your basics installed. And one of those basics is that you have your Visual Studio installed correctly. Okay, so now it's going to go ahead and say to double start the bat, but according to this, we're done, but we're not. Okay. If you try to run it, in fact, let's go ahead and run it. You're going to see what we get here. So let's just type in start. Let's go over to our command prompt. We're in the right folder. Let's type start.bat. Gosh, if I could type. Okay, start.bat. Now notice it's going to go up, but it's going to end up saying that it's missing some folders. Okay, so it starts to load. It's running the API. Sit here for a second and it's going to error out on us. Let me pause it till the error. Okay, so you're going to see here that we get this error here, no such file or directory, checkpoints, fish speech, config.json. So that means that there's a folder called checkpoints. There's supposed to be a folder called checkpoints, a folder called fish speech 1.5, and in there a file called config.json. And so that is missing. Okay, you can actually see that if we'll go ahead and hit Control C to cancel out of this. Hopefully it'll let us. Okay, so it's not letting us, so we're going to have to go ahead and just close this and then reopen the window. So let's go ahead, reopen this. Oh, that's a different command prompt there. There we go. So here we'll go back to where we were, CD staging, CD fish speech. Okay, so now we hit dir/AD so I can see all the directories. You can see there is a folder called checkpoints, but if we go into here, CD checkpoints, you're going to notice there's nothing there. Okay, so there's the other directory it mentioned, fish speech -1.5. Same thing, it's empty. Okay, this is where the directions messed us up a little bit, because over here in the browser it just says to run this, but actually we need to get the folder. So what we got to do up here is click where it says Inference. Okay, and it's going to bring us over here. It says download the required VQGAN and Llama models from our Hugging Face repository. So this is what we need. So we're going to actually have to copy this. Okay, I'm going to just hit this little button right here that'll copy it. And then we're going to go back to our browser. But now we got to get back to the directory, the fish speech directory. Notice we're in fish speech. Whoops, where are we at? Oh, damn it. Hold on. Okay, notice that we're in fish speech 1.5, and then checkpoints. We need to get back to this folder. So we're going to type cd -- or ... That means move us back one directory. I'm going to put a \. I'm going to put another ... So what that's going to say is move us back two directories. It's going to say this is the directory we're in, move us to here, and then move us to here. So now watch that. Now we're back to where we are. So now what we're going to do is we're going to run this browser command, this Hugging Face CLI download, and notice what it's going to do is it's going to call this app, which we're going to have to make sure we have installed, Hugging Face CLI. It's going to tell it to download, and then it's going to say these directories, but then it's going to tell us to put it local directory. Okay, it's going to tell us to put it in these folders. So we got to be in the place where we can access checkpoints. Okay, so this is actually the name of the repo here. So it's going to say download this repo and then put it in this parameter local directory checkpoints fish speech. If we go back to our browser, dir/AD, you'll see there's our checkpoint. So we need to be in the place where we can access checkpoints. Now, before this works, we've got to make sure that Hugging Face CLI is downloaded. So we're going to need to pip install these really quick. So now I want to tell you that this is going to, that ChatGPT is going to help you with this, but I'm going to tell you, ChatGPT, there's a flaw in ChatGPT's knowledge where you go into installs, it tells you the wrong information every time. So I go to ChatGPT because I don't retain a lot of this stuff in my head. I retain some stuff, but other stuff I'm just like, if I can just look it up, I just look it up. And ChatGPT is one of these things, like every time I go there, it gives me incorrect information. So what we're going to do with this one is we're going to clock on over to Claude here, and maybe I'll just go ahead and do the same thing, copy this stuff over to my blog and have it. But what we're going to need to do is you need to ask it how to install your Hugging Face hub. And so we're going to just copy this. So what we're going to do, we've got to install the Hugging Face hub. Okay. And so we're going to clone over to our command prompt. Now, I don't mind installing this on my base system. Usually want to install stuff in a virtual environment. This one's okay because it's something that we're going to use a lot. So I keep it in my main system. I don't worry about pollution here. But here, pip, of course, is our Python package installer. So that installs dependencies. We're going to say pip install, and we'll just go upgrade. The dash that it has there just says if it's already installed, just reinstall it. Make sure it's there. And we're going to say the Hugging Face hub. And so just click enter, and it's going to go ahead and it's going to go through all of this. Now, mine's already installed. If I hadn't put the upgrade, it wouldn't have done all this. It would have said already installed. Okay, so that's installed. But now there's one other thing that we need to do, okay? We need to install the command line command. So we're going to press up. We'll click up. It's going to take us back to what we had before. Then we're going to put a bracket, CLI. So we're going to say install Huggingface-hub, but install the command line interface stuff as well, okay? So now we'll do the same thing. It just runs through their installs. Now we're all set, okay? You have to do this or our command to download our checkpoints won't work, okay? So, but once you get this, you're set, okay? Again, if you need to get these instructions, just head over to cognibuild.ai, click on the blog, and then just come down here and you'll see it there. You can go ahead and grab the installations there. So, but that all beside the point. Let's get over here now to where we need to go ahead and install the checkpoints. So let's go back to here. Okay, remember we were in the introduction. It didn't tell us we had to do this. I had to tell you this. You go to Inference, and we're just going to go ahead, highlight these things. We're going to go back to our command prompt. Now I'm going to hit CLS just to clear the screen. Now I'm going to hit Control V. So now we're calling that Hugging Face command line interface that we just installed. We're telling it to download this repository and put it in the local directory checkpoints fish speech 1.5. So we'll go ahead and click enter. Now it's going to go ahead and it's going to start downloading these things for us. Okay, and then we'll be able to see later that it populated those. But there's still going to be another issue that we have to look at, because it's going to download these, but there's another file that we're going to have to change, because it's going to give us something that's going to confuse you, and I'll show you what it does. But okay, so now we're done. Okay, if we type, if we go over here and we type dir /ad, there's our checkpoints. Now if we go into checkpoints, type dr, and then we go into our fish speech -1.5. Now you're going to see there's our config.json, all that. So it downloaded everything that we needed. Okay, so let's go cd dot. Okay, so actually there's a few more things that we need to do. Now, if you remember that we installed, Torch, but it was for 12.1. Now, if you're with me and you're running 11.8, there's a few more things that we need to do. So what we're going to do is we need to pop over to our window explorer. Here, let me get there for you. Okay. Okay, now we're going to go into our fish speech. Now down here, this is everything we've been doing. There's our start that we're going to use in a little bit. But here's this run command, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and double click this, okay? And this is actually a pretty groovy little command. What it's going to end up doing for us, let's see if I can get over here, is it's going to open up our virtual environment for us. So you can see it's actually here. So now, others, we would have had to go there and activate it ourselves, and the problem being that it stores its own virtual environment stuff. So like, I'll show you really quickly over here under the file explorer. You'll see here in the fish speech directory, you've got fish env, and then there's your Conda right there. Okay, so we're still going to have to do a little bit of some stuff here. So we want to use Conda, but notice if we type Conda here, it's not going to find it, okay, because it's got us in this special environment. So we need to use its Conda that it has packaged with it. So it's what we can do is we go back over to our file explorer. Whoops. We go back to our fish env here. We can see Conda. There's our Conda bin, and there's our activate that we're going to need, or our Conda command. So if I click up here, we're going to see that the folders are here. Now, if we go, if we go back to our, hold on just a second. We go back here, you'll see that we're in the fish speech thing. So what we're going to need to do is go over here, and we need everything above a fish speech. So we're going to have to grab fish env, Conda bin. Let's highlight that and copy it. Okay. So I'm going to press Control C. Now I'm going to go back to my command prompt, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to type in fish-env conda bin. Okay. Not a big deal. That's basically saying go to this directory, then look in this directory, then look to this directory, but I'm going to add another backslash and I'm going to say conda. So this is the same as normally we would just say conda install. Well, I'm saying conda install, but conda install from here. Now I'm going to go ahead and type install. I'm going to hit -C, which means I want to install from a catalog. I'm going to type NVIDIA because that's the name of the catalog that I want. And then I'm going to say, what do I want to install? I want to install the CUDA toolkit. Which version? The 11.8. And I'm going to put a -Y just so I don't have to prompt it. Now if I press enter, you'll see it's going to go there. So it went to the fish-env folder, then it went to the conda folder, then it went to the conda bin folder, then it found our application conda, and then I was able to do all of that stuff. So, and then it goes ahead and installs it for us. Okay, really cool. But it's a little bit confusing, isn't it? And that's, again, because it's not using the conda on our system, it comes packaged with its own virtual environment. Okay, so we have to be able to access it, and that's how we access it. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to reinstall the torch because remember we're using 11.8. We just installed our CUDA toolkit 11.8, but our torch has to match. And if you remember when we were doing our first installation, it was installing with 12.1. So we need to get 11.8. So this is why this isn't exactly the easiest installation. There's little things to do, but it's not that big of a deal. What we're going to do is click back over to our File Explorer here. Okay, and we just need to get back to our front directory, our fish speech. Now remember we installed our environment. This is what we double click. So what we want to do is we want to figure out which torch they use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here, I'm going to right click on this, I'm just going to edit it in Notepad. Okay, it's going to bring it up. It's going to look like this. Okay, now don't worry, I know this all looks like Greek to you probably. What we're going to do is we're going to just go ahead and type Control F. Let me see if I can make sure that you can. Let me make sure you can see that. Okay. I'm going to type Control F, and I'm going to just type torch. Okay. And notice it's going to bring me down, and you're going to find where it pip installed torch. So it's using 2.41. It's got all the versions. But notice that here at the end it says 1.2.1. So what we're going to do is we're just going to copy this whole thing. Okay. We're not going to copy this over here, this pip command, that's a variable. Okay. We're not going to worry about that. You can actually see that up here at the top. It sets it to, again, it's got its own environment. So we'll have to add that in there. But what we're going to do is for right now, we're just going to go ahead and copy this. Okay. And we're going to then go over to our command prompt. And what we're going to do is we're going to paste it in. Now, it's not going to work if you just press enter, okay, because it doesn't have a proper command. It's going to say, I don't know what install does. In fact, what I might do is I'm going to go ahead and press enter just to get the error, and then that way it's still there when I press the up, so I can always come back to it, okay? Because now what we need to do is we need to figure out where that Python command is packaged. Just like the Conda, they have their own package. If we go back to our File Explorer here, you're going to see the same thing. Remember, we went to our fish env. The Python one's going to be under here, under env, and where's it going to be? And there it is, Python. So it's going to be under this folder here. So what we can do is we can copy this. Now if we go back to our command prompt, okay, I'm going to go ahead and paste that in there, okay, and then I'm going to type Python -m. So what I'm saying is I want you to run Python, but I want Python to run one of these applications like a module. So I'm going to -m, I'm going to say pip, okay. Now what we can do is we can add in that other stuff that we had. So we'll just pip. Now we can go install Torch equals 12.2.4.1, blah, 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 blah. But what we need to do here is we need to get rid of the 12.1. So we're going to go 11. We're going to go 118. Okay. So it's going to go here, look in this folder, look at this folder. It's going to grab Python. It's going to do a -m, which means run We want Python to run something as a module, like as its own app, and that's the pip thing. We want it to run pip. What do we want pip to do? We want it to install Torch, but we're going to use this parameter to say get it from this place. So when you're getting the Torch, get the version that is 11.8. So now we can go ahead, hit enter. Mine's already installed. Yours will take a little bit, a while to do it, but it's going to go ahead and, oh, actually, no. I'm incorrect. It is installed. It's assuming it is because we already have the 12.1. So we need to go dash dash and we're going to type force. Okay. So what this is going to do is it's going to say, it's going to force it to reinstall it. So what it did was it looked into cache and it says, we already have these files, but it's not clever enough to know that it was the 12.1 version. It didn't know where we downloaded it from. So by putting dash dash force, we're saying regardless, even if you have it in the cache, install it anyway. So you got to do that, dash dash force. And now it's going to go through here and it's going to start installing this stuff. Okay. Now there's only one more change that we have to do once this is done. And I was thinking of changing it first, but I think what we'll do is we'll let this install so I can show you what it does, so that then we can change it, so we can show you what it's supposed to do. It's a really easy thing. But we'll go ahead and pause here for just a second while this finishes up, and then we're almost done. Okay, so we're done here. So now we're actually ready to run this thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kick back over to our File Explorer because it's just easier to run from here. So notice we're get back to our main directory, fish speech, and now we can click our start.bat. So I'm just going to go double click this, and this is, let's click over here. It's going to open up this window here. Is that, no, which, hold on just a second. Yeah, okay, I guess we were on the right one. So it's going to start this, but it's going to work, but it's going to take us to the wrong place, okay? So this is going to take us to an API page. Now, this is one of the things about Fish TTS is that you can use it as an API. So in other words, if I'm writing code and I'm saying like, I want to take some stuff in and I want to get something back, what you can do is you send it to a location, an API. So say, okay, I'm sending this out here and I want to get something back. So it might be like, I'm going to record my voice, I'm going to send it there. So this would work really good with Cobalt CPP. If you're doing stuff with your chatbots and you want your chatbots to speak to you. So every time you get a text, it sends to the API, then it comes back as language and it speaks to you. So Fish TTS again is powerful because it's got a strong API and it also is strongly fine-tuned, so you can create your own voices in there. Oh, me show don't know. You can have whatever you want, right? You make your little kinky perverts, make your little kinky whatever chick to talk to you or whatever. But you can do that with this application, and you can set up through an API so that it will always be talking to you back, no matter what you do. So what we're doing right here is it's loading us, but it's going to load us into the API screen. So let's go back to our command prompt. You see it's done loading, and it's going to say unicorn running on HTTP 0.0.0.8. Now, this is a little bit of a problem because that actually doesn't work as it is. We're going to need to change that. But anyway, let's click on it. I'm going to hold down the click button or the control button. I'm going to click, and it's going to open up my browser. Okay. But now it's going to say this site can't be reached. That's because your page doesn't understand 0.0. So I'm going to type 127.0.0.1. That is your local computer. So it's saying, look on your local computer for this port. And so now if we click there, it's going to bring us up. So you're like, hey, great, the app's working, but hey, not great, because what do I do now? Well, you can't do anything because this is the API server. This is where you're going to get all of your addresses to do stuff with. Again, I'm going to leave this to you guys to figure out how to do it. I've got some other videos on how to use an API with Cobalt CPP that you can look at if you want to figure this out. ChatGPT is your best friend when it's going to come to figuring out what to do here. But this is your API page. It does you no good in the sense of actually working it. So what we have to do is we need to change a file so that it doesn't load us into the API. Okay, so what we're going to do is, let's go, well, actually, let me show you over here. Remember up here when we clicked on our introduction, when we were looking at our instructions, it said down here, modify the API flags. This is what that was talking about, is that there's a text file that we need to modify. So to do that, we're going to go back to our File Explorer, and you're going to find one here that says API flags.txt. So all you got to do is double click that bad mamma jamma. It's going to open up in your notepad, okay? See if I can zoom in so you can see it. Okay, now notice up here it says infer and it says API. See this hashtag here? That hashtag means comment it out. It means ignore it. Okay, so like I could put anything in here. I could put hashtag get going fast is the greatest in the whole world, yo. And it would just ignore it because it's hashtagged, okay? So what we need to do, and notice that this one, the API, is unhashtagged. These dash means it's sending as a parameter, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to delete the hashtag from infer because we want to do some inference. And then we're just going to go ahead and put the hashtag there under API. Now, as long as I'm in here, I'm also going to go ahead and change this 000 because I don't want to have to keep typing it each time. Basically, this is for use later. If you want to use like your cell phone or you want to use stuff like that, you would be using that, and it's going to be broadcasting out for other APIs, you know, coming into your machine. Since we're just doing this on our local thing, we're going to use this. And if you want to figure out how to use your cell phone with this, I can give you a head start and let you know that you're going to be setting stuff up with 0001, but you're going to need to talk with ChatGPT how to do that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and change this to this, okay, and I'm going to hit Control S, or I'm going to hit my file, and then I'm going to click Save, okay? So now we've got our API flags set correctly, okay? If I want to get back to that API page, I can just come back in here and uncomment this one and comment this one out, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and close that. Now if we go back to our File Explorer, and we got to remember to go back to Command Prompt, you got to close out the one that was already opened, okay? Now if we go back to our File Explorer, now if we click start.bat, this thing is going to start to run. Where is it at? Anyways, whatever. So it's going to start to run, and now it's going to pop up this page. Good job. You made it to fish. Okay? You did it, and it had that groovy little stuff coming up at the top. Now, you think you're out of the woods. You're ready to say, I just want to have this thing tell me what a great feller I am. Well, wrong. This here is the training side of things. Okay? So I'm not going to teach you how to use this. Okay? Because I'm not really certain how to use it. It's not in my wheelhouse. It's not in the purview of what I'm doing. I'm the installer. I'm the one that says, get going fast. I'm getting you going. Now you go fast, okay, with it. So you're going to play around with all of this stuff. This is where you're going to process your data. You do your training configurations, all this kind of stuff. I can give you a little bit of a heads up here that if you go back to the documentation, you can click here on your fine tune, and it's going to give you the directions on how to use this. What I would do, honestly, is I would copy the whole thing and I would just paste it into ChatGPT, and I would say, I'm using this program, explain this to me. That's the kind of stuff I would do to figure out how to do this stuff. But over here you can see, prepare your data set, batch extraction of semantic tokens, da-da-da-da. So essentially what it's going to have you do is you're going to have to come up with a data set of a bunch of different sounds. And then this lab file is going to be like here it says down here, like the lab annotation file only needs to contain the transcription of the audio. So for example, if the MP3 says hello, goodbye, then the lab file would contain a single line of text, hello, goodbye. So whatever you have here in your MP3, you're going to have a copy. You're going to have one with the same file name but with different extension that has the transcript of that. Now, I will tell you there are applications out there that you can research, and that what you do is you get your audio down and it will go through there. It uses Whisper and it will convert all of this stuff. It'll translate your text, and then it'll also and cut it into batches like little small MP3s, and then it will also transcribe it. So it'll do this for you. In fact, perhaps Fish is doing that for you. Okay, so you can play with this and see what it does. If it doesn't, it's okay. There's applications out there to do this. Again, this isn't a beginner thing. This isn't something that if you're just starting on this, this is not a project for you. This is for someone who kind of knows what they're doing. They have an idea, and I've got you going fast here with the app. Okay, now you'll have to slow down and learn how to use it, but this is basically how you're going to do it. You're going to set this stuff up, okay, and then notice you're going to have to download some more weights, okay, and you're going to run this. Once you get everything in the correct place, you're going to run this, and then it's going to create these MPY files, okay. And then again, this is above my head. This isn't the kind of stuff I do. At some point, I'll sit down with this, but honestly, I get so busy with just installing this stuff so that you guys can use it that I don't spend a lot of time really getting deep into the technology of saying how to. Now, I'd love to. At some point, I will do this because it'd be great to make something where I could just clone my own voice and then, I'll be like Andy Kaufman out there. You won't know if it's really me or not. I mean, that's fun stuff, right? But for now, what we're doing is I'm getting you going with this stuff, and you're going to have a powerful API behind it so that when you do get the model you want, then your social media site, whatever, you got your chat, so people are wanting to talk with you, you'll be able to have this set up so that they'll be coming back and forth with voices and all this kind of stuff. So you can do true automation with this. I mean, I'll just really take a second here. That's really the power of this. Facebook, Instagram, all that, they have just okayed fully automated, it's like, oh my God, fully automated social media sites. So that means that you're going to be texting people, talking with people that don't even exist. You'll be like simping for some chick that is an audio, like, you're so pretty and I want to hear your voice, and you'll pay $10 to have a voice conversation with them, and it's just going to be Fish TTS running behind the thing. So you can set that up as well. And I think that's the power of this, is especially with this open source stuff. You got it in your noggin to do it. You can do it. The tools are here for you to do it. Okay, so anyway, this is all your fine-tune stuff, but let's say we want to get over to our inference. So what we're going to do is we're going to click up here on inference configuration, okay? And there's this button here that says open inference server. This is how we're going to open it, but we don't want to click on that just yet, okay? There's a flaw in here, okay? And we have to change some stuff. If you notice here, it says decoder model path. This checkpoint's fish speech 1.4. We don't have 1.4, we have 1.5. So what we need to do is click on this, and it's going to bring up these options. We need to click this one that says 1.5, okay? We need to make sure we got the right one. Then down here, same thing, llama model path, checkpoints fish speech 1.4. We got to click 1.5, see? So they didn't update the thing. They've got it, it's an older version, they haven't updated the WebUI. So you need to check those yourself or it will not work. Okay, now it's going to go ahead again and load it on your local host. That's what that 127.0.0.1 is. And then it's going to open up on a port 7862. So you're going to have two servers running. You've got the server running that this is running off of, okay? And then you're going to have this WebUI port. Now what we can do, we can scroll on down here to where it says open inference server, and then we click it. And it says, inferring interface is launched. Now we go back over to here. If we could find the right one, you're going to see it's loading it. Okay, so it's loading the llama model. That happens after we clicked that open inference server. So we'll wait for it for a second. Oh, we'll scroll down. Okay, and there it's done. So running on local URL and 7862. So what we'll do is we'll hold the left control button down and click it. Same thing. Now it's going to open up another browser. Now we're over here in the inference page. So we've got right next to it is the training. Over here is now our inference. Okay, so we could type get going fast is the greatest way to get into AI exploration quickly, easily, and semi-painlessly. This is painlessly. We'll just put that there. Then we can go ahead. We can go down here. Notice it puts it into our real-time text transformation. we could put, I'll show you all this in a second, but we can just click generate. Okay, it's going to go ahead and generate. We've installed our CUDA, our Torch, so it shouldn't take forever. But I will tell you again, F5 TTS is still better for what we're doing right here. F5 is the best, okay? But you can't fine tune like you can here. But now let's go ahead and click and see what it does.
Get going fast is the greatest way to get into AI exploration quickly, easily, and painlessly.
All right, there you go. Now, if I click it again, I'm going to get a different voice. So this is where the fine tuning comes in, because you don't want to have a different voice every time you're doing stuff. So you fine tune it on a voice. Now this will sound different.
Get going fast is the greatest way to get into AI exploration quickly, easily, and painlessly.
I want to put a period here. I want to see if it ends that a little bit better. Let's do one more, because notice it sounded like it wants to keep talking. I wonder if putting a period there will fix it. Let's find out.
Get going fast is the greatest way to get into AI exploration quickly, easily, and painlessly.
Oh, there you go. So that period made a big difference. Okay, so now what I can do here, let's say I want to get the same voice. I can go here to reference audio, okay? And what we're going to do here is go scroll down to here where it says drop audio here. I'm going to go ahead and just grab something there, and let's hear this, what it'll sound like.
Kun var så barmfager at selvfjerne I horisonten.
This was the wrong one that I was working with, but that's fine. Let's use that voice. Now if I go ahead and click generate, it's going to use that voice that I had on there. So let's see how it sounds.
Get going fast is the greatest way to get into AI exploration quickly, easily, and painlessly.
All right, so there you go. That wasn't that great, but you could see it kept the same voice. Now, this thing does not handle other languages very well. That's actually why this file was actually not that good down here, was because I was trying to have it speak in Norwegian, and it did not do well. Here was the actual original one.
I want to tell you about Get Going Fast, the best way to get into working AI and to do it fast. Quick and easy to follow instructions and installers to get you going fast.
Okay, so let's use that one. And you'll notice that one will come out a little bit better because it really trains on the pauses, it trains on the inflections. And so when I did a Norwegian one, it didn't do it well. So that means it was training on a poorly well done. Let's see how it sounds.
Dit is do too. It's do AI exploration quickly, easily, and painlessly.
Okay, well, that was terrible. So what we could do here is we could click on our text normalization over here. We could change our temperature, change our top P. I found out that changing these things a little bit can fix it up. So the bottom line is this, again, out of the box, this is not a particularly awesome application. It's strength lays and it's training.
It gets you going fast is the greatest way to get into AI exploration quickly, easily, and painlessly.
There you go. So there you have it. We have Fish TTS installed. And if you just want to do some generation stuff, go get F5. Okay, it's really easy to find. All you got to do is go over to the browser here, or go to your Patreon, or whatever, and just type in F5. Okay, you're going to go ahead and you're going to find all the updated installations. Okay, over here. So go ahead and download that if you're just wanting to get into doing stuff. However, if you're wanting to fine tune it, you're wanting to say, I want to use my own voice, I want to use a particular person's voice, I want to get the same voice all the time, and I want to train it in a particular way, Fish TTS is your go-to app, okay? But you're going to have to put some work into this one, okay? The nice thing about this, though, there's a lot of apps out there you put work into and you just don't get any payback. You'll get payback from this one, but I'm telling you, this is not a novice application, okay? This is an application for you know what you want to do. You want to get that same AI voice. You want to be connecting it to here, and you're willing to put the time into it. This app is going to be the one that will get you down the road, and it's open source. Okay, remember, you can always use 11 Labs and all that stuff, but you got to be paying money per month. This is open source. The quality is going to be different, but as much time as you're willing to put into it, you're going to just keep getting gold out of this. Okay, so if you want to play around with voice stuff, just making voice stuff, go get F5. Okay, get the plus version. It's easy. You can download YouTube videos on it. I've added to it. You can do fun podcasts. Great app. F5 is one of my favorite apps that's out there, in particular my plus version, which you can get over there. It's fantastic. You want to get into some serious big boy stuff though, start playing around with Fish TTS and let me know what you're doing with it, because I want to learn from you. I want to see what you're doing, because you guys constantly are blowing me away with the cool stuff that you're doing. So come up, hit us on the Discord, let us know what you're doing, share your knowledge with us, and together we'll be like Ultron. You know, you come here like a leg and a body and an arm, and we're going to make this giant robot of awesome knowledge and technology that we couldn't have done on our own. So thanks for being part of that. I appreciate it. You guys enjoy, and we will catch up with you on the other side. Yo!